Hey everybody, Madeline here to tell you the point of astrology, to demonstrate to you the reason that astrology is been given to us from the higher realms to help us out down here. It's so that we understand the bigger picture. Astrology is Sagittarius, it's the macro, it's the cosmos, it's the divine order, it's the truth. And it's the forest. It's the forest, not the little trees. Gemini, which is opposite Sagittarius, is information, the micro, communicating, telling the information, learning the information. Anyway, that's not where I'm headed here. I want to talk about what's happening today in the world. I want to give you a macro perspective because that's what astrology is for. For that, I need to share the chart and show you. So today, what is happening in astrology? Up in the sky as above, so below, so that we may understand the macro, so that we may be conscious. That is the other thing about Sagittarius, so that we may be conscious of what we're doing, so that we may be aware and not operating. Now, some people have a hard time with the word karmic and they think karma is not true and it's not, but that's because they see karma from the perspective of it being a punisher. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just simply operating in cycles of unconsciousness and creating a reality that we don't really consciously want to create out of some sort of energetic stuck loop. And it's usually stemmed in trauma, some sort of past life trauma. So we have the cycle energetic loop and we don't know how to get out of this. It's an energy because everything in the universe is energy. So we have locked, trapped energy in our psyche bodies. So when we become aware and awaken and we step onto a spiritual path, we start to see the power of shifting out of that loop. We have an alternative. We see another way, right? So that's a big deal about what's going on right now. So here we have Saturn, which is the planet considered karma, in the new area, in right initiating a new 30 29 year cycle, but actually aligning with the new era cycle of Neptune. That's Pluto is initiating in Aquarius, the new era of Aquarius, right? So then we've got this new brand new beginning Neptune there. We just have Neptune leaving the Piscean era, indicating the Piscean era is now over. We're starting a new cycle. This is a 150-year cycle, 30-year, 29-year cycle. This is like a 50-year cycle. These are big cycles. The North Node is an 18-year cycle. So, squaring Jupiter. Now, Jupiter and Saturn went into conjunction. This is the part I want to talk about. So Saturn and Jupiter connection here. This is big because this is they came together 20 December 21, 2020 in 0 degrees of Aquarius. And I have a chart for that. And that tells us a lot about what we're experiencing right now. Okay. And I'm going to explain that. So let's go back to right now. So we have what appears to be total chaos out, things are in chaos, but in the universe, everything is in order always. There's some sort of magic order. And the thing that's happening, of course, is change. And when there's rapid change, big changes, there's an energetic catch up. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay. And it has to do with that loop of what I'm talking about, that karmic energetic loop of operating. Now we're leaving Kali Yuga. We've left the dark ages. We're ascending into the higher frequency, the higher vibrational times, right? Into the age of Aquarius. Now the age of Aquarius is about freedom and liberation, and the people are sovereign and run the show. There's every cycle of Aquarian Pluto, we get downfalls of governments and we get downfalls of corruption. Now, and then I'm going to talk about that in a minute here. So what's happening is Mars squaring Uranus is causing a lot of the social uproar within us and outside in the world. In other words, we are definitely experiencing this on the inside. We would not be experiencing this chaos on the outside if we weren't also having this within us. And that is exactly what I'm going to talk about here, which is why the topic of karma comes up. So we've got Mars squaring this Uranus, which is that liberating, that rebellion energy that we're seeing here, and it's a square. So there's some sort of termination, some sort of ending. Yes, it shows up as conflict, but the conflict is showing up because the energies are clashing, and one energy is going to sort of prevail at the end of this, right? So because this is causing a big shift. So we've got that happening right now, which is important. And it's a square, which I'm going to talk about in a minute more. So then we got Saturn, Neptune squaring Jupiter and Mercury. Well, Mercury is not in the square right now. So anyway, so what's happening now? I'm going to show you the chart of the day of the Saturn Jupiter conjunction, December 21, 2020. Big old Pluto Saturn square. I mean, ouch. So this was in Saturn, karma, Pluto, hidden government corruption, or the truth coming out and people being liberated and there being consequences, harsh conflict. So basically, the day that we entered into the age, technically the age of Aquarius, where we all enter into our sovereignty, we started the journey of our sovereignty with Chiron in Aries, transforming us into warriors and to be self-advocates so that we step into our sovereignty and we step into our higher path, our true calling, which is what's going to shift the planet when everybody steps into their chart, their astrological chart, when they're conscious and aware of who they are and their calling and their reason for being here. So when we have, and so Chiron, in this transit, Chiron was healing us through some sort of rough karma clearing. This is Aries, Mars, aggressive, strong, assertive, conflict, battle. This can be crime, by the way, crime. So we're coming out of Kali Yuga, the dark era, where we all suffered trauma to survive and chaos because the Kali Yuga was dark, void of spirit, void of light, void of the divine. So we went through a lot of material hardships and trauma. And dark forces sort of took over the planet. Some people may call it that way. So anyway, so then we've got this corruption. This is ending corruption, ending, and this is also going on within us. Where are we not in alignment with our true center and our true knowing? And where are we still operating in a karmic loop in this, in a survival base? So we're ending the trauma, we're ending the pattern of operating in a victim trauma, unproductive to our own selves, out of aligned way, where we were. It's ending, we're setting free by ending what traps us. And it's not necessarily an external thing. It's something trapped within our energy frequency. And that's what we're clearing. Because as within, so without. So psychologically, our humanity, our collective consciousness is coming out of Kali Yuga, out of dysfunctional ways of surviving that were unproductive. Because we're stepping into the golden era, we're ascending into the light more, spiritual times. So these are higher vibrational frequencies. It's the 11th house of astrology, which is very high vibration. So we're stepping into these higher vibrations where we can't take our old ways of survival based, these loops. We're not got to get out of this energetic loop that we operate in so that we become conscious. That's what this whole spiritual movement is about, is so that we become conscious. That's what astrology wants us to be, is aware and conscious of the bigger picture of what's going on. And so what's going on right now, because we have a Saturn Jupiter square, which means we're back to this topic of Mars squaring Pluto. And we have, what's Uranus doing on this transit? Oh yeah, where's Uranus? Oh, Mars in retrograde. So it's like, it wasn't making any negative aspects. So in a way, that's sort of like, it's sort of like we have to heal something first within us. We have to do some inner work. We have to liberate our own inner frequency of our illusionary perceived it trapped or that we're not free. That's what we have to heal. So, and then that we can't survive. Like we have to take abuse or take situations just so that we don't survive, or a job that's not right so that we survive, or a relationship that isn't right so we survive. That's just going to come crashing down because that's not the truth. Because in these energies, the truth will prevail. Look at this. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, where was the moon? The moon was in Pisces. So, I mean, that's interesting because like that's the end of the cycle when we get that strong active any kind of thing at the end degrees of Pisces. Plus, we had Neptune there. So, in this period between now, where Neptune and Saturn are right on the where Chiron was, which means upon healing, we can begin these auspicious new beginnings. But we've got to delete old patterns and old ways of operating that are not productive, that keep us in a loop. That's not conscious. That we're not making conscious choices around. That's what astrology wants us to make, conscious choices. So now this is rapid clearing. So we're having big changes, and then our old ways of behaving in these big changes show up that cause a block to the change. I hope that makes sense. So now let's look at right now. This is really interesting. So right now let's put now planets. So we've got Chiron where Mars is, indicating we have healed that. We're much more in our sovereignty, but we do have a square to Jupiter. It's sextiling the Jupiter on the chart of that day, which is kind of interesting, but it's squaring Jupiter up here, which means where have I'm seeing this in my readings that if you haven't there's an aspect that needs healing first for this to go forward. So there's some sort of clarity or some sort of, because this is healing us to be leaders, initiative, to take initiative to initiate these new beginnings. So we had to heal something within us that would give us the oomph and to be healed so that we can operate from a productive, constructive way here on this new chapter. We are spiraling up. So, and then we have Saturn, Neptune, right where Chiron was at that time. So basically saying these new beginnings come upon the maturation and the healing of our unempowered selves, the part about us that gives our power away. That's what Pluto's about. And it's sextiling Pluto right now, which means we have done a lot of work. Pluto is where Jupiter and Saturn were at that time. So we have to transform something. So that's what we're seeing play out in society. We're seeing up violent responses to changes, radical changes and shifts that are occurring that indicate that, and these responses are just, depends what side you're on, doesn't matter. The old way of operating with a violent response isn't conducive to the new earth. So we're going to see some of these unhealed ways of operating show up that have blocked us from being in the ultimate experience that we're here to be. So we're going to see these things show up so that they're cleared. And I'm seeing it in my readings. I'm seeing things beginning for people, but then a big snag comes up, and it is the point of trigger for them, a big trigger spot in their chart. It's like a big part of the work that they have been working on in these recent times, since this conjunction, becoming more in our own empowered sovereignty, believing in ourselves, Leo Mars. And can we operate in the new way? Can we operate consciously for the new earth so we can step into the new earth, which is basically not to operate in survival mode, not it basically to be functional, to have is what it not dysfunctional, to not be sort of desperate, to not be unconscious of our choices that we make, our behavior, our reactions. You know, that's hard when these transits are happening, when there's a Mars squaring Uranus. Any minute now, you can lose it. So, and plus we've got the South Node in Virgo, which is going to join Mars. Mars is going to join the South Node in Virgo next month, which is going to be another big, potentially, it can go two ways depending on where you are energetically in your karmic clearing. Now, when Saturn, karmic clearing, where Saturn goes retrograde, we're going to have it's going to go back into Pisces, that 29th, 28th degree point where we can do some more work on all our clearing of our energetic cycles that we operate in that are lower density and fear-based. So we're going to start consciously having faith-based reactions to things that scare us. All right, I hope that is helpful. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.